ambassadors, you're watching Speak English with Christina, l'anglais fun, fluent et facile. I was going to start speaking in French there for some reason, but now I'm going to just continue in English because that's what I wanted to do, was speak in English. Anyway, I'm really excited about today's episode, like really excited, because you'll see it's a discussion with Estelle Tracy, who is an author, a food author and blogger. She's the author of Le Guide de survie alimentaire aux États-Unis, because if you're French, you need a survival guide for cooking and eating, living in the US, but also of two different blogs, 37 Chocolates, which is a blog in English all about chocolate, so it's a very delicious blog, and another blog which is Le Hamburger et le Croissant, which is all about food and different food experiences, recipes, things like that, from France and the USA. The chocolate blog is in English, the other Hamburger and Croissant when it's in French, but both of them have really interesting and yummy content, so I would encourage you to check those out if you like food like I do. So I'm very excited. In this discussion, we're going to talk a lot about the differences between food and eating, and food habits between the U.S. and France. You'll see that I've been living in France for 12 years. Estelle has been living in in the U.S., not in France. Estelle has been living in the U.S. for 14 years. She's originally from Les Yvelines in the Parisian region, and I'm originally, of course, from Mississippi. And so it's almost like we swapped places, we swapped countries, and so it's a little bit about the differences, good and bad, that we have of each other's, respective countries. So I hope you enjoy this. It's very good because you'll learn that the stereotypes of American food are not always what you think they are. And I just really enjoyed finally getting to meet Estelle, and I hope that you will too. Okay, let's go.
I think
Then you have to accept it or be miserable. So yeah.
Yeah, 20 years it's been too long, but like it's, at first it's like, oh, well, it's like, there was one thing that I think surprised everybody.
Yeah.
Like, it's like cinnamon is everywhere.
Oh yeah.
But in Turkey, it's also a very common spice. So for me, it didn't shock me.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because, at first you're like, oh, cinnamon is everywhere, blah, blah, blah. And then it starts becoming a joke. And then I remember there was one intern who said, it became so American, he didn't call it la cannelle, he said le cinnamon.
Le cinnamon.
It's not la cannelle, it's le cinnamon, okay? So, it was just like he compartmentalized, like, this is a U.S. thing, And then you start laughing that we were in the car, we're dying, cracking up, he just started them buying all this, cinnamon, Tic Tacs, he didn't even
cinnamon
like them.
Toothpaste.
I'm just going to buy them,
Right.
But it's that makes for the best memories. I
Exactly.
see 13 years later, I'm still thinking about it.
About this guy buying his cinnamon stuff. It's true that there's just in the U.S. it's true that cinnamon is like a basic flavor. You have cinnamon toothpaste, cinnamon chewing gum, cinnamon candy,
Tic-Tacs.
cinnamon Tic Tacs.
One
of the things I found funny about flavors is that in France that you would have like chewing gum or toothpaste. The flavor chlorophyll.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I was like, what is this? Chlorophyll? Because, we learned chlorophyll in as children in the U.S. school system. Chlorophyll is I don't even, the outer part of the cells of a plant or something like that. And I'm just like, what on earth is this?
It's true. I mean, when you say that, it's like what makes the plant green.
Yeah.
And it's like, does it
what
really
flavor
have
does that even have?
I haven't eaten trees.
Exactly. Let me pick some grass and taste the chlorophyll. I don't know, but it's And so now that you've been there, but just first of all, because you're the author of the Guide de survie alimentaire aux États-Unis.
Correct.
Like for a French person who is traveling to the U.S. for vacation or going to move to the U.S. to live, like what is maybe the biggest challenge of surviving in American cuisine?
I think it's like there will be a difference if you're traveling for fun for like 20 days,
Yeah,
because you're not going to shop for ingredients. Like
sure.
you're probably going to eat out.
Mm,
Um, if you're just traveling for like a couple of weeks, I think the challenge is knowing where to get your food on the go, I guess.
yeah.
So you would have, in my opinion, you'd have to do some basic research, like researching some chains or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you are going to if you are coming for like a year
Yeah.
or more, I think that from my experience, a lot of people in France don't anticipate
Mm,
the culture shock of food.
yeah.
And I'm not talking about candy bars, like or like finding or like
Yeah.
like the grocery stores opening at 5, but like it's at the basic level, the
Mm-hmm.
ingredients are very different. And what's mainstream or like what's a common product like creme fraiche in France,
Yeah.
it's not mainstream here.
Exactly.
So there is this adjustment, like there's an adjustment there. And I find like having learned English really at school,
Yeah.
there's a whole vocabulary that you don't learn in classes. Like I
Ah.
haven't learned much food vocabulary, and
Yeah.
like I learned like I could write work emails when I came
Right.
here, but like or like in Germany, same
Yeah.
thing. Like I survived that part, but like daily life was like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want. Like I remember, like I was like going to like even Blockbuster, like
Yeah.
to get a card. Like so for those who don't know, Blockbuster was like a DVD, like
A
in
rental
like
place.
tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like rental place, and then you had to like it was like this massive anxiety. Like I could survive just fine at work, but like having to talk to people was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And then same with food. Like you go, this is what that's the typical example. Like
Right.
the French person, like I would say let's imagine a French person comes to France and they want to buy creme fraiche, and they're like, oh, sour cream, and then they get the sour cream and then they cook with it and the sour cream breaks apart,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, I guess it wasn't creme fraiche. Like that's like, or I mean, it's just that you keep hearing that we live in a global world,
Yeah.
which in a way it is, but there's still a lot of differences between
Exactly.
countries, and like and then like, the same thing with the flour. People don't realize that the wheat in the US that is grown is
Yeah.
not the same as the wheat in France, and it's the flours the flours are heavier,
Yeah.
and there is an understanding of ingredients that you
Mm.
are not gonna first the vocabulary you're not learning in school
Yeah.
necessarily, and once here there is that curve, and that's what the book
Mm.
exists today, is that so that you understand. Like I try to give people what they need to know, so they
Ah,
wouldn't
right.
just like make mistakes after mistake when they're
Yeah.
trying to make their cake, or like. And another typical mistake is like in France, like the baking powder, la levure chimique, is like
Right.
in the little pink packages,
Yeah.
and like you expect the baking powder to be packaged the same way,
Yeah.
and then it's yeast, like to make bread that is
Yeah.
packaged the same way. And I know more than one person, or
Mm.
like I have gotten emails from somebody like, oh, Estelle, I don't know what I did to my cake. Why is it not? I
Why
said,
did it
I
go
use
get big?
Flashman. No, even worse. Like I used Flashman. The thing was like a brick, like so
Oh
compact. It
no.
was unedible. And she said,
Ah.
I bet the Flashman is there. I said, Flashman doesn't make baking powder. They make yeast. And I'm sorry, like,
Like it's
I
not
say,
the
go back
same.
to the book, read page, blah, 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 and you learn. Like,
Yeah.
so that's like this kind of mistakes that people do not anticipate are going to happen. So that's where I'm
Okay.
at.
Yeah. So
Like,
it's
I'm
like
trying
even
to
though it's like you have in French
yeah.
it's la farine and in English it's flour, but it's not exactly the same exact thing. In fact, in terms of like cooking and
Exactly.
the alimentary characteristics of it, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. One time we went with Roman, my husband, we went to the U.S. and he wanted to impress my family by making some crepes, some crêpes.
Uh,
Except we had, his French recipe, which we've made tons of times in France, zero problems. We get to the U.S. and so my mom only has American skim milk, which it's like water with a little bit of milk. And the American flour and the crepes, like they were, it was the biggest catastrophe ever because nothing worked. And we were like, what's happened? And then Roman looked at the milk and he goes, no, this is not real milk. And he looked at the flour and he's like, no, the flour's not the same. And I said, okay, well, then you're going to have to Google recipe for crepes and find an American recipe for crepes if you want to make crepes. So,
Right.
just because, the ingredients are so different.
Yes, and the other thing that, what I try, it's not explicit in the book, but what I know I always try to explain when, I exchange emails with readers is that you are not going to find an exact equivalent to everything.
Exactly.
And you have that's same thing. That's part of being an expat or changing countries or whatever. It's that you have to bury the idea that you're going to find an exact equivalent. For instance, like in France, the flour you have, T55, 45, 80, you are not going to find the exact equivalent of T55 or like 80. It's going to be a rough equivalent.
Yeah.
Here you have pastry flour and cake flour. It's the flour is marketed as like they want to give you the use of it.
Right.
Like, this is what you buy it for. This is the purpose of buying this flour. In France, you just have it's not marketed the same way.
Right.
And you have to like forget how you did it in France and learn a new way of thinking. And it's a gymnastic for the head, but it's part of what you signed up for.
That's exactly. It's part of what you signed up for. Don't change countries if you want to live exactly like you lived in your home country. It's part of the fun and the frustration sometimes.
It's fun. Yeah, embrace it. That's the embrace it.
Exactly.
And I always say, if you really are frustrated, like, if you really are frustrated with what you don't find in the US, I'd say, find a way to either, ask your baker, like whoever is in your town, like talk to them and try to encourage them to make something. If you're missing macarons, talk to somebody who would want to make them.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to start your own food business. That's a great idea. But if it's not for you, there are so many, like, be involved and like speak up, and talk to the people and, make connections and try to gently,
push them into making croissants.
Culture,
right.
Pardon?
I was going to say gently push them into making good croissants.
Yeah, or like, or
cheesecake.
This is how, or like macarons or whatever, But yeah, that's one way I think, Like I have a French friend, like her name is Sylvie, and like she's a personal chef. Yeah. And she makes soups at in my small towns farmers market, and I'm like, and she's having huge success. Like people, she sold out on her first day there. I'm like, she didn't have to complain. She just showed up with her
making soup. No, I can totally understand how Americans would absolutely love the concept of ready-made French soup made with real ingredients. Like I could see like why that is a massive success in the US because it's the ready-made food culture. You want to buy something that you can eat immediately, but it's made with fresh ingredients, it's homemade, and it's French. So I mean, she's gonna have a hugely successful business. Yeah.
And you know what? She got even smarter because she makes them vegan and gluten-free and paleo-friendly.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
She just merged everything into one package, and I thought that was very smart.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, Estelle, it's been absolutely fun and lovely talking to you and exchanging with you sort of, what you like and what you disliked about the food in the U.S. I was really happy to have you on the Speak English with Christina. Just once again, a reminder for the people watching that your book, it's Le Guide de Survie Alimentaire aux États-Unis. It's right there behind you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's here.
That's it.
And great. It's backward, I think, but as you can see, beautiful.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And I actually have a copy of it, and I read it just because I was curious as well. And I found like if I was a French person going to the U.S., I would be like, yes, I would. Like somebody should do the guide de no, it will be in English. The food survival guide in France or something. But maybe it's easier for Americans coming to France to survive.
David Lebowitz,
Yeah.
the pastry chef, like it's not a formal guy, but he has some blog post
Oh,
about
yeah.
that. You know,
Okay.
yes, it's always like I can put a link if
Yeah,
you're
I was gonna say,
interested
give me
for
the
your
link and I'll
friends.
put it in the notes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will do that.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much,
Right.
Christina.
Okay, thanks, Estelle. See you
Yeah, I've had
soon.
so much fun too.
See
Au
ya.
revoir.
Bye.
Bye.
And so that's it. Now you're probably very hungry now. So I would say just go and enjoy a snack or bon appetit. Enjoy your meal if you're going to lunch or anything. Because after that, I mean, I want a croissant now. So I'm gonna go to the bakery and have a croissant for a snack. And I just hope that you really enjoyed it. Like I said, check out the links to the blogs in the notes below. Also, if you are interested in Estelle's book, I'll put a link to that. And like I said, it's very, 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 very useful for any French person that you know who is going to live in the US or who already lives in the US and just needs help surviving American food. So, all right. So, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. Bye.